Good morning, and welcome, and thank you for being here today. My name is Al Orozco. I'm a lieutenant with the Los Angeles Police Department. Today's press conference will announce and highlight the arrests made and the rescue of adult and juvenile victims by the Los Angeles Regional Human Trafficking Task Force, operation called Reclaim and Rebuild. Today's run of show will consist of speakers including the District Attorney's Office, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and a representative from the Zoe International Group. I'll ask you to hold on to questions until we have the Spanish segment of this conference completed. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Assistant Chief, Chief Blake Chow.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? My name is Blake Chow. It's B-L-A-K-E-C-H-O-W. Let me just begin by thanking our partners here. You see behind me our Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, our District Attorney's Office. Thank you, Mr. District Attorney. Probation, Children and Family Services, and all of our CBOs, because without this team support, we wouldn't be able to have an impact upon this, what is an epidemic, because human trafficking is an epidemic that victimizes our most vulnerable population, and it's a silent epidemic that sometimes we don't see. But human trafficking is perpetuated by predators, and there's really no other word for them, who victimize our children. They victimize those that have psychological and emotional vulnerabilities. They victimize those who are in economic hardship, and they victimize those who lack solid safety net, amongst others, as you'll see. But our most vulnerable victims in our society are forced into sex trafficking, forced labor, and forced marriage. So this is why this matters. In 2024, the following agencies participated in Operation Reclaim and Rebuild. That was Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles County Human Trafficking Task Force, which is the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, Los Angeles County Probation Department, Department of Children and Family Services, and our non-governmental organizations, advocacy groups. Los Angeles Police Department, in partnership with Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Human Trafficking Task Force, collaborated with 103 law enforcement agencies across Northern and Southern California to conduct high-impact operations focused on recovering victims of human trafficking and apprehending their exploiters. Our statewide impact thus far, 547 arrests made across the state of California and 177 victims rescued. So we extend our deepest gratitude to every state, local, and non-governmental agency that participated in this critical operation. Their continued dedication plays an essential role in combating human trafficking and ensuring that every rescue is a life forever changed for the better. Thank you for your commitment, collaboration, and much needed support. And now I'd like to introduce my partner, Chief of Detectives, Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton.
Thank you, Chief Chow. Good morning, everyone. We're here today to discuss a couple of things. I'm going to talk about some of the successes and challenges. I know we've already identified our partners, but I also want to extend my appreciation to the cooperation that's occurred between ourselves, our local jurisdictions, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and some of the non-governmental organization partners who will speak at the end that have made this a success, remove people from the street. So I'm going to speak briefly, and then I'm going to come back later on and talk about a specific success story and some specific numbers from the Los Angeles Police Department side.
Before you really get going, sir, could you say your name and spell it, please?
Yes, I'm Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton. I'm the Chief of Detectives for the Los Angeles Police Department. It's ALANHAMILTON.
Thank you, sir.
And beyond these numbers, they represent a life reclaimed, a future restored, and a victory for justice. They also stand as a call to action for all of us, both within this community and within the greater city of Los Angeles. Behind every statistic that we're discussing here is a person, a young life interrupted by hardship, a family in pain, and a community in need of hope and support. Our successes in 2025 have not come without challenges, but they underscore a simple truth. When law enforcement, government agencies, advocacy groups, and community members join forces, we can make a difference, and we will make a difference. Every arrest and every rescue is a step closer to dismantling the networks that prey on the most vulnerable among us. It's a testament to the tireless work of more than the 103 dedicated law enforcement agencies throughout the state who have partnered with us and our NGO partners as well. But while these results inspire hope, they also remind us of the hard task that we have ahead of us. Every young person that we rescued, and I'll talk about some specific cases, deserves the opportunity to thrive in schools, in their communities, in their life, and with their families, and in a future free from exploitation. We must continue to raise awareness, strengthen our collaborative efforts, and invest in the support systems that help survivors heal and rebuild their lives. Let today serve as a celebration of our progress and a renewed commitment to protect every child, every neighbor, and every community member. Let us stand united in our resolve to confront human trafficking wherever it hides and to ensure that our streets, neighborhoods, and futures remain free from the grip of their exploitation. I'm going to now hand it over to Captain Rich Ruiz from the Sheriff's Department, and he's going to have some comments regarding the Sheriff's Department side of the investigation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the 11th Annual Operation Reclaim and Rebuild. I want to thank all of our law enforcement partners from throughout the state of California for continuing to bring attention to sex trafficking victims in our communities. My name is Rich Ruiz, and I am the Captain and Task Force Commander for the Los Angeles Regional Human Trafficking Task Force, which is hosted by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Last name is R-U-I-Z. The task force was formed in 2015 and is made up of law enforcement partners from local, state, and federal levels, many of which are here today. Thank you. Our partnerships also include social service providers and community-based organizations. Human sex trafficking is not just a global issue, it's a local crisis. It targets the most vulnerable among our exploiters, which includes women, men, and children for profit. Here in Los Angeles County, we stand as a united front against this heinous crime. The mission of the task force is clear: to disrupt and dismantle sex trafficking networks, bring traffickers to justice, and ensure survivors receive the support and resources they need to reclaim their lives. Our strategy includes three main pillars: prevention, enforcement, and recovery. We're committing to breaking the cycle before it begins. This includes education by raising awareness in our schools, community events, and public campaigns, and partnerships by working with community-based organizations to address the root causes of trafficking, such as poverty, homelessness, and a lack of access to resources. Our enforcement efforts are relentless. We utilize data and intelligence to identify trackers and their networks. We collaborate with federal, state, and local agencies to conduct operations targeting traffickers, including sting operations and surveillances. Finally, we work with our social service and community-based organizations to assist law enforcement in offering victims resources, housing, food, services to help them heal and begin the recovery process. Operation Reclaim and Rebuild is specifically conducted in January, which is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. To the traffickers, don't do business in California. We will find you and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. To the sex buyers and predators, sex with a minor is nothing short of child molestation, and we aim to treat it as such. And most importantly, to our victims, you are worthy of more, and we will work tirelessly with our partners to provide you with services and help you rebuilding your life. Now, Sheriff Luna was not able to attend today's press conference. However, he sent the following statement, quote, "The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department remains committed to combating human trafficking and protecting the most vulnerable. Our dedicated personnel work tirelessly to rescue victims, hold traffickers accountable, and raise awareness. However, this fight requires collaboration and partnership with law enforcement statewide, which is essential to strengthening enforcement, supporting victims, and preventing trafficking, end quote. To the residents of Los Angeles County, we ask for your partnership. Human sex trafficking is not someone else's problem. It is ours to solve together. Educate yourself, educate your loved ones, talk to your children, and stay vigilant in your neighborhoods. If you or someone in your neighborhood needs help with human trafficking, please reach out to us at the Los Angeles Regional Human Trafficking Task Force. Our phone number is 562-946-7960. Or you can call LA Crime Stoppers to remain anonymous at 1-800-222-8477. I will be here after the press conference if anyone has any questions. And now it's my privilege to introduce the LA District Attorney, Nate Hochman.
My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the Los Angeles County District Attorney, Hochman. Several weeks ago, we had a press conference on the Figueroa corridor announcing the prosecution of human traffickers, both the successful completion of cases where individuals who were human trafficking received 87 and 75 years in prison after conviction after trial, and the announcement of several charges against various human traffickers on the Figueroa corridor. What we promised several weeks ago is that we would go ahead and present a unified front amongst law enforcement agencies working with nonprofits to go after the traffickers, to go after the handlers, to go after the sex buyers as well, in support of the victims, and try to rescue as many of the human trafficking victims, which are often young girls, as possible. Operation Reclaim and Rebuild, which again is celebrating its 11th year, is the manifestation, or one manifestation, of that unified front, which we promised. And as you heard, and you'll hear the statistics, over 500 arrests throughout the entire state. You had over 100 different law enforcement agencies participating. In our district alone, you had over 230 different arrests between LAPD and the LA Sheriff's Department. They rescued over a dozen individuals. And these aren't just individuals, these are young girls. Often they're just young girls, teenagers. They can be as young as 13, 14, 15, 16. These are somebody's daughters. These are somebody's nieces. These are people who are in their most vulnerable state that the sex traffickers, these human traffickers, preyed on, focused on, targeted, brainwashed, used force, fear, coercion, and violence to get them to be effectively their commodities that they sold to sex buyers to profit. Not to profit in any way to help out these young girls, but to exploit them 100%. And so over the last week, you saw this unified front of law enforcement going after these human traffickers. And what I want to make crystal clear is that it's not just a one-week operation, it's a 52-week operation that will be happening over and over and over again, whether it produces these numbers or numbers along the way. We are going after you human traffickers. I want to make this message clear and unmistakable. The question is not if, but when you will get arrested, then prosecuted, then punished to the maximum extent of the law. I view what these human traffickers are doing as despicable. Let's call it exactly what it is. It is despicable. And I want to make sure they understand that when they are in court before a judge, and the judge pronounces sentence, and that sentence is you're going to spend years in prison. At that point, they don't think, well, I was never warned, because this is your warning. If you're engaged in this operation, stop right now. If you're thinking about going ahead and exploiting young boys and young girls, stop right now. because when we go ahead and convict you, you will be spending the rest or a good chunk of the rest of your life behind bars. So I'd now like to both thank the great efforts of LAPD and the LA Sheriff's Department. The DA's office participated in this multi-agency effort. And again, it has led to prosecutions that we're bringing right now in the courts, and it will lead to future prosecutions as well. What you've heard is that this, in some ways, is both the hammer, but then we offer the glove as well. The hammer are these prosecutions. The glove is the glove extended to the human trafficking victims. And we are going to do our best to reach out to you, to give you that helping hand, to connect you with resources so that you can understand that you're not out there alone. Very often the human trafficking traffickers have brainwashed these young people to believe that it's only them, that they are effectively their family. That's why they can exploit them. That's why they take away their identity, their self-esteem. And I'm here to tell you that law enforcement and these nonprofits are here to offer you this helping hand, as well as offer the hammer against the traffickers themselves. So I'd now like to reintroduce Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton to speak about the LAPD's efforts.
Thank you, District Attorney Hockman, and thank you for your partnership in this effort. It's truly appreciated. I'm going to go over some of the statistics, and I'm going to highlight a specific story that is a good example of kind of how we've operated and what we're doing here. So in terms of the Los Angeles Police Department, over the period, we made 205 arrests, which was an increase of about 6% from our 2024 numbers. Of our arrests, 76 were here on the Figueroa corridor. We effected 12 rescues, which was a 33% increase from last year's numbers of 9. And of the rescues that we had, one was a 14-year-old, a 14-year-old victim. We had 3 15-year-olds, 1 16-year-old, and 2 17-year-olds in a 1-week period in the city of Los Angeles. Now, I want you to think for a second about these lives that we're going to work to restore with our non-governmental organizational partners and what it takes to make that effort and to rebuild those lives. It's going to be an ongoing issue for the rest of their lives, but it's going to be an issue that the city, the county, and the district attorney are committed to making sure that these victims reestablish their lives, return to their families, and go on with their lives. I'm just going to give one example of an investigation that we did. Started on January 26th, an 18-year-old female victim with autism met a human trafficking suspect online. Now, you will recall that I cautioned people in the community about these online meetings at our previous press conference down the street here. He convinced her to leave her home and work for him as a commercial sex worker, persuading her to live with him. In the middle of the night on January 27, 2025, the victim ran away from home, taking multiple buses to reach the suspect's residence in Riverside County. The suspect, who was on parole for burglary, had an active parole revocation warrant. So this individual was already wanted by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation because he absconded from his parole obligation. The Los Angeles Police Department's Operations Valley Bureau Human Trafficking Task Force, in collaboration with LAPD North Hollywood Division and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, Office of Correctional Safety, Los Angeles Fugitive Apprehension Team, worked swiftly to locate the wanted parolee. Because of these circumstances, an Ebony alert was immediately issued to assist in locating the victim. So the Ebony alerts are put out when we have an endangered juvenile, and that was immediately issued because this was a situation where we felt that this victim was in danger. The apprehension team immediately responded to a residence in the city of Riverside where they believed the suspect was staying. There, they located both the victim and the suspect, who were staying at the home of the suspect's brother. The victim was found in good health and was safely returned to her family. This criminal case is being presented to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for filing consideration. However, that suspect remains in custody on a parole revocation warrant. So again, we're grateful that this victim was located before being forced into commercial sex work. And I want to highlight the speed and efficiency of this type of investigation prevented further victimization, and we take pride in all the collaborative efforts that led to the recovery between our department, our partners, and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. So that's just one example, and I want to personally thank Lieutenant Mark Evans, who is in charge of human trafficking out in Operations Valley Bureau. You know, and this is another example where quite often the public isn't aware of what goes on at night here in this city. In this particular investigation, the officers worked throughout the night, constantly throughout the day, to bring this to a successful conclusion because they never gave up on this victim, and they also didn't give up on bringing this suspect to custody. I will assure you that in due time, this suspect, in addition to facing the charges related to absconding on his parole, will be facing human trafficking charges that'll be brought forward by the District Attorney's Office here in Los Angeles County. I wanted to highlight that particular investigation because it will also serve, just like District Attorney Nathan Hochman said, as a warning from the Los Angeles Police Department that not only will we work where you'll see us out here in uniform and in black and whites and working hard visibly, but we're also going to be working undercover. We're also going to be working, you know, at night in plain clothes, doing surveillance, doing those investigations online in cyberspace to make sure that we're bringing people to justice. So I want to make sure that message is transmitted loud and clear, just like the district attorney said. This is your one and only warning for people that are trafficking here in the city of Los Angeles. There will not be another warning. There will only be prosecution and rescues of our victims that we want to reclaim, and we want to help rebuild their lives. I believe, who's up next? Chief Tingarides is up next.
Good afternoon. Imada Tingarides, EMADA-TINGIRIDES. Common spelling. I am the Deputy Chief of Operations South Bureau, and we are specifically here on the Figueroa corridor because it is the epicenter of human trafficking in South Los Angeles. Over this week of Project Reclaim, Rebuild, just along this Figueroa corridor alone, there were 85 total arrests, 7 pimps, 1 gun arrest, 2 narcotics arrests, 4 felony warrants, 3 misdemeanor warrants, 68 prostitution arrests. There were 9 rescues along this corridor alone, 7 juveniles, and 2 adults. The Los Angeles Police Department, not only working with our local, federal, and state partners, also has an initiative along the Figueroa corridor in conjunction with our city attorney's office. And our focus is to bring safety and a better quality of life along this Figueroa corridor. Working with our council district office, we've already abated 5 motels along this corridor. We're looking at environmental design, working with our nonprofit organizations. I happen to be out and about during this week, and our nonprofit organizations and the Department of Children and Family Services, we brought some young women back to 77th Street, and they had no clothing or very little clothing on. And to see our nonprofit organizations give them slippers and shoes and blankets and sweatshirts, and the look on the faces of some of these young girls who said, I haven't had food, and I don't know when is the last time I owned a piece of clothing that covered my body. We are rescuing these young ladies from the streets in LA County. We've come a long way, but we have so much further to go. This is an annual operation, but every single day we are working to save these young women and create a better quality of life for this community. We have our Operations South Bureau Human Trafficking Task Force that is here today, that is on call 24/7 to come and rescue these young women, and working in conjunction with our county district attorney, we will prosecute and we will rescue these women off the streets of Los Angeles. With that, I'm going to hand it over to a huge partner from Zoe International Advocate Group, the USA Director, David Cox.
Good morning, David Cox, COX. And I want to start with this. I want you to imagine a vulnerable young lady, 16 years old, who was kidnapped and then forced into a life she never chose. Fast forward a few years later, and last week I was speaking to her, and with tears in her eyes, she said, every time I'm with a man, I feel like a piece of me dies. Imagine an 18-year-old suffering autism, going online, being groomed, lured, then goes missing, held for days, and by a miracle, law enforcement identifies them, finds them, and there's a rescue. I want you to imagine at 1 o'clock in the morning where you cannot drive up a street. It is full gridlock. Not just one street, it's street after street after street. It's gridlock. It's not commuters going to work. It's not an accident. These are buyers lining the streets to buy a human being. Some as young as 14 years old. This is human trafficking, and this is happening right now. These are all stories from last week, right here in LA. Through Reclaim and Rebuild, you heard statewide they had 177 rescues. 11 of those were kids. 7 of those kids were within probably 10, 15 minutes from where we're standing right now. Recoveries are just the beginning. You know, these victims who experience this level of trauma, some of these kids are raped hundreds of times before they ever get a driver's license. And so once there's a recovery, there's a new battle that begins. It's a battle for hope. It's a battle for healing. And at Zoe International, we help law enforcement identify victims on site at operations, and we walk with survivors from the very first moments of safety. They're no longer alone. Zoe coordinates with many other agencies like Saving Innocents and Forgotten Children, and we all work to ensure all these victims, some of them need medical care. As you heard from the chief, some of them haven't even had a good meal for days. They get a warm meal. They get a safe place to stay. They're going to get trauma counseling, and they're going to get all the love and support that they need. If it's a juvenile, a child's recovered, social workers will respond. Agencies like Optimus and Vista Del Mar respond to support as well. Some of these kids end up at a specialized home for kids who've been commercially trafficked, like we have at Zoe International, or maybe at one of the other partner agencies. And there, their healing journey will begin. So what are the results of this? Well, I can tell you 2 quick stories. One is a juvenile. She thought she had a boyfriend. It's not a boyfriend. It was a trafficker. He filled her with drugs, filled her with alcohol, disappeared for months at a time while she was sold for sex. When she arrived at Zoe's home, she was broken, she was addicted, but she wasn't without hope, we can tell you that. The beautiful part of the story is you see someone who's on a horrible trajectory, but now she's back in school. She's gone through drug counseling. She's received job training. And do you know what the difference when you see hope in the eyes? Some of these victims, you can look, and these survivors, it's hard to have hope. There's hope in those eyes. Her transformation was so powerful that she's back home with family, she's surrounded by love, and stepping into a future she never thought was possible. One adult Chinese victim was promised a job in the U.S., but found herself being taken from country to country, forced to pay exorbitant fees, and then coerced to provide sexual services to pay off that debt. LAPD recovered her at an operation this past year, and since then, Zoe has helped her get a work permit, and she's in stable housing. She's paid off all her debt. In fact, she has an amazing community around her. She's so excited. She wants to help others that were in her situation. So is recovery possible? Absolutely. And that gives us hope in this fight against human trafficking. So today, we owe a big debt of gratitude to all of our law enforcement partners and to a DA who's going to stand behind this and get severe prosecutions, maximum penalties. They do tireless work, so every agent, every officer, and every agency, that is giving so much effort and energy, we want to say thank you. You may not hear or see what they do on site, but I can tell you firsthand. I hear officers saying things like this to potential victims. We're here for you. We care about you. Not here to get you in trouble. There's help available tonight. That's the heart behind these operations. And that's the heart of the front line that is in this fight against human trafficking. And to the officers, you really are helping to rewrite their futures. So thank you all who are doing that. You're making a difference. I'll just close with this. If for those watching, you got to remember this. This crime is happening every day. Every day. We could leave right now and go see. It's not law enforcement's problem. It's all of our problem. All of us. Right now, there are predators online searching. They're driving these streets. And especially, they're looking for your kids. Especially, anytime there's vulnerabilities after a devastating fire, there's more vulnerable adults and kids. And predators will take advantage of it. So especially if you have kids. Can I just say this? Be aware. Know where your kids are at. Know who they are talking to online. And most importantly, be involved in their life. A connected child is a protected child. And you've heard so many numbers today, but each one truly is a life worth fighting for to avoid sex or labor trafficking, and we will continue in that fight. And together, we will reclaim our cities, and together, we will rebuild. Thank you very much.
Buenos días, soy Detective Salcido, Jesús Salcido, con el Departamento de Policía de Los Ángeles. Estoy asignado a la unidad de tráfico humana aquí en el Departamento de Policía de Los Ángeles. Ahora queremos hablar sobre la operación aquí de reconstruir y recuperar que pasó la semana pasada entre enero 26 y primero de febrero. Habían muchas agencias. Queremos decirles gracias a la oficina del condado del fiscal de distrito, a los sheriffs aquí del departamento de aquí de Los Ángeles, del condado de Los Ángeles, y también al departamento de la infancia y familia. Todos trabajamos juntos esta semana pasada a tratar de combatir el crimen de humano tráfico aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Este no nomás fue un programa que fue construido aquí para la ciudad de Los Ángeles, pero fue para todo el estado de California. Por el estado de California fueron 547 personas arrestadas, y en esas 547 personas arrestadas, 177 personas fueron víctimas. Aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles solamente tuvimos, de las 547 personas arrestadas, 205 fueron aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Muchas de las víctimas, fueron 12 víctimas aquí rescatadas aquí en la calle de Figueroa, pero de las 12 víctimas que fueron aquí rescatadas, 7 de ellos o de ellas fueron menores de la edad de 18 años. Tuvimos a una víctima de 14 años, 3 de 15 años, una de 16 años y 2 de 17 años. Ahora yo primeramente quiero darle gracias aquí a la prensa escrita y a la gente de la comunidad, porque sin ellos y ustedes no podemos combatir el tráfico humano aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles. Por favor, si tienen preguntas o quisieran más información o quisieran darnos pistas sobre las investigaciones que están ocurriendo aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles, por favor llame a la área 213-320-9489. El número otra vez es 213-320-9489. Gracias.